On this episode, we're talking to Brittany Amora, and we are talking about what is it like to be a content studio owner, a photographer, and a communication strategist, and also a mom. So all the commas and all the things. We're also talking about puzzle pieces. So that's a good one. And a little insider tips. You got to listen in to hear that one. All right, go ahead, hit play. I'll catch you on the inside of She Built Success. Hey, it's Claudia. You're tuned in to She Built Success. Let's get started, besties. And we are with Brittany Amora. She is a content studio owner, communication strategist, and photographer. Side note, we're actually here in her lovely studio. Brittany Amora, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you decide to go into content studio and owning a content studio for that matter, and just what that looked like, as well as a little bit of background about you. So let's hear about you. Audience, hear about you.
Yeah, so I am a content studio owner. I started the studio in November. My background, I started out in PR. I've been doing PR, communications, branding, a whole plethora of communications for over the past 15 years. Okay. I'm also a mother. I have an 8-year-old daughter. That's a very, very big part of my life and who I am. Yeah. I'm married. I'm also a dog mom.
Yes, dog mom. High
five. My Bichon, he's my baby. He is 16 years old. So yes, we've been through it together. Like he's been there from the beginning. Yeah, that's my baby. Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. No, absolutely. I did not know you were a dog mom.
I am.
Yes. I think what ends up happening, and I want you to chime in on this, because you two have many, I call it commas after your name. These are the things that encompass me, or you in this case. I think what ends up happening is we feel like sometimes we have to fit into one lane. Like we can't be mom and only mom, or we feel like we have to be mom and only mom at some point, and then we switch hats and we go to business owner, and then we switch hats, in your case photographer, and then communication strategist. But I feel like the thing that we sometimes miss is understanding that we are all of those things, and we can be all of those things at once, ? That at once is more so, what does it mean, and this is for you, what does it mean to have all those commas, and how do you believe in balance? Let's go with that.
I do believe in balance to some degree, but I also believe in giving myself grace.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I'm trying to balance something, it's just not going to work at that moment. Because one thing, if you look at it like a scale, it's going to start tipping. Like if I have a lot to do here on the weekends, but my daughter also needs, things on the weekends, something's not going to, come together all the way.
Right.
But, I'm big on giving myself grace on that. Because I'm like, well, who could do all of these things at once?
Exactly.
I'm one person.
Exactly.
I'm one person. And then when you talk about like the different parts of yourself and the different careers and the different hats that we wear, I like to think of things in different eras, or like I'm big on music. So a lot of your favorite artists, you'll see, for instance, Beyonce, she just had a Renaissance album. Yeah, she's doing country. And it's like, okay, this is me in this era. Because sometimes I'll look back on myself and I'm like, in the beginning, I pursued law school when I was at.
What?
I did.
Okay. I'm a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So to go back, I a graduate of Howard University. I was on the debate team, president of the debate team. Thought I was going to do this career in politics and law, but I ended up moving into communications. Yeah. So that was that era of my life. So then I did PR, and then I started to have some PR burnout. So at that time, I started moving into more digital communications, and then photography, and then I'm very happy with where I'm at, but I'm also comfortable with knowing that this may not be where my journey ends, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, I'm all over the place." I would be like, here I go again. Coming up with the next thing.
Doing the next thing.
Doing the most. But now I'm like, okay, it's okay to go from different versions of yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. You said era. I say season, which is to me the same thing. There's like different seasons in life. And I find that sometimes some people get stuck in a certain season and they just kind of sit there. I know you said you went from the PR field in burnout, kind of going a little bit. What did burnout look like for you? Like clearly PR is not my background, but what did that look like? And then how did that lead you to wanting to even open up a content studio?
Yeah. So I think it was what I needed at the time that I started. When I started PR, I enjoyed it. It's a very high-paced career. Your goals one day are not your goals the next day. You could land A-list media, have someone, on the Today Show on CBS, but then the next week it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
And it over time with my lifestyle and my family, I also did a lot of traveling with that as well.
Okay.
So once I had my daughter, I'm like, okay, I don't want to travel as much anymore. Yeah. But then also I don't necessarily want the strong deadlines or the late hours,
Right.
So it started to kind of wear on me. I think another thing with PR, it's a very behind the scenes job. So your goal is to make sure that the public image of whoever you're working with is intact. And it's a good public image, or that they're getting media coverage for whatever products, services that they're doing. Yeah. So I always kind of felt like I didn't have a career in a sense.
Because it's so dynamic.
It's so dynamic. And it's so, granted, I'm really thankful for some of the organizations that I work with, because I made sure I always work with organizations that did things that I could stand behind. So a lot of the organizations that I work with were primarily in the medical field, in the healthcare field. That's something that I'm very passionate about, public health and also health equity. Yeah. So those kind of positions, I'm like, okay, I stand behind this 100%. Yeah. I'm happy to do this. But then some other ones, it's like, okay, I would like to have my own, because I'm always, that champion for everyone else. Right. And so that was one of the things that led me to be like, okay, maybe it's time to step out on your own, try something different, and, build your own space.
In PR. Well,
yeah.
Kind of.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
In the realm of that. And so that led you to opening up.
So it led me, actually, I moved more so into... So the one thing about communications, I always say it's like a trifecta. You have PR, you have marketing, you have advertising, and then you also have things in between like branding. Then you have your social, then you have like email marketing. It's all connected. It's all connected. So I felt myself shift more into the digital side first. Makes sense. Social media marketing, social media branding. I did a lot of email focused marketing, sales funnels, things like that. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah. But another thing over time, like I said, I've been in this industry over 15 years. When I started, video, photography, content was not a big part of that. But it's started to become the main thing that we use to communicate now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, what is the first thing you do when you want to find out about a product?
We're Googling.
Or
YouTube University.
YouTube University. Or even now TikTok. When I'm like, how does that make it work? Let me go and see. I found a restaurant I like. Let me see somebody's reviews on TikTok. So that's, a way that we communicate now.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I want to lean more into this. So I started to do that. Fun fact, I minored in radio, TV, film when I was at Howard.
Oh, really?
So I learned a lot about videography. I learned a lot about lighting. I learned a lot about, recording. Yeah. But I never thought I would use it.
That was a back pocket.
It was a back pocket. I wanted to graduate in PR, but the reason I did radio, TV, film was because I had to stay an extra semester or two. Okay. Because of the way the credits were set up. And I was like, I'm about to graduate. I'm not staying here.
You're like, I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah, that's extra money. So I'm like, I gotta go. So I ended up doing that, never thinking I would use it. Yeah. But now all of those skills have resurfaced and have been so needed in what I'm doing now. And I think that's one thing where I also realized like life is very full circle. You could be doing something 20 years ago that comes back to you. Yes. And then you're like, okay, that's why that happened. That's why I learned that.
Yes.
So I try my best to not, I used to be so much like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to just let it flow. Yeah. And like see how it all works together. Because there are so many pieces of your puzzle that you haven't even put in the puzzle yet. Right. But you have them, but you haven't put it in there yet.
Yep. And so in opening up Refined Content Studios, what did you find was maybe potentially challenging, or was it like easy flow because you had the experience in the background, a roster potentially coming in? Like, talk a little bit about what that looked like.
So the flow was good once I got the doors open, but getting the space I think was the most challenging. So finding a space that worked, for what I needed specifically, competing with other people who may want a commercial lease, and doing the business proposal. So it took me maybe 8 months or so to get this space.
Okay.
I went after it at least 3-4 times.
The same space.
Yeah, that I can remember.
Dang. Okay. Look, that's persistence right there.
Persistence. So, in January of last year, I'll back up. November of the year before that.
Okay.
So that's 2022. I took a course on how to open a content studio from a young lady in Atlanta. They have a lot of amazing spaces in Atlanta. Atlanta is that's I have a board of like all the things I want to do when I see stuff in Atlanta. And so I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So by January, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go look for a lease. I found this space and one other space. Okay. The other space was good, but this one was the one that I wanted. I'm like, this is what I want. We were negotiating the lease terms. They weren't what I wanted. So I stepped away, kept looking, still couldn't find anything. So then I went back and I said, okay, can we try it again? So it still wasn't what I wanted. So then the third time, I'm like, okay, went back again. I saw that it wasn't, this is now June. Okay. I saw
June
that
of 23.
Yeah, 23. I saw that it wasn't leased. So I'm like, well, if you had a lease to me, you could have a tenant by now. You could have a tenant by now. And so they're like, okay, but 2 other people are putting their application in the same week as you. So I'm like, okay, so let's see how it goes. They're like, well, we're going to go with the other people because they're willing to sign a longer lease. I said, well, that's fine. And I told myself, I said, God, what's for me is for me. I was hurt, but I was like, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. So maybe about 3 weeks later, they called me and said the other people backed out. We want to just go ahead and give it to you.
Yeah.
So
I got chills. Like, literally had chills.
And I was so surprised. I'm like, I was out of town. And they're like, well, can you, come this week? I'm like, I'm not there, but my husband can. He can come. He's going to get the keys. He's going to do everything. And I'm like, I'm about to come home, like, because I got to get started. So I was in Michigan at my parents' house. So I'm rushing back and I'm like, let's hit the ground running. Like, let's start, building, putting it together. So the time it took me to get the space fully up and running was from August to November. And I opened my doors in November, literally a year to the date that I took that class and said, I'm going to do this.
Wow.
Yes. Perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
But that you're going through it with all the setbacks and things like that. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work. But then when I see it came together, I had those pieces of the puzzle. God was writing a story.
Exactly.
And it came together exactly a year to the date.
That's, we sometimes, like, I'm a control freak. I'm a type A.
I feel you on that. I can be that way too.
And we like, okay, let's go. It needs to be this way, this way, this way, this way. And just knowing that God already has worked it all out. Like, you literally went 3 times. And on that 3rd time, it was like, all right, bet, this is now yours. Like, it's amazing when we just, and that's something that even for me, just be submissive and just listen to what God's saying and then execute. Or in your case, letting those pieces come together.
It is a challenge to do that. And I'm very much like, okay, let me make a plan so I can plan for this. For this, for this. And then I'm like, what backup happened? Okay, here's my caveat for this.
That is me too.
And I'm like, okay. And then when it comes together, I'm like, see, you didn't even have to work yourself up like that.
You're right. We be doing the most.
Yes.
If you're done with the fluff and ready to execute on the how, then visit shebuiltsuccess.com for the tools you need. It's time to push go and dive into real strategies, genuine understanding, and concrete steps to create both more in business and life. Head on over to shebuiltsuccess.com for access to exclusive downloads, resources, and bonuses. Because moving boldly forward is not just a destination, it's a multi-layered journey. Let's grow and build your success together. And I know you mentioned this, you were in Michigan at the time when the offer became, or when the space became available. Do you have any family in the area here?
I do not.
And so,
I do not.
So it's you, your husband, and your 8-year-old son? Yeah. What is it like raising, so like for me, all my family, where we're recording right now, we're in the DMV. For those of you that don't know, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. We're in the V part, Northern Virginia. But what is it like raising a family away from family? Is your husband's family local?
No, they are not. We both are away from family.
Yeah,
so,
what is that like?
We're mostly here for career-wise.
Yeah.
And it's tough. The struggle is real. It's gotten easier since she's gotten older, but in the, the baby stages, the toddler stages, it was a lot. There were times where I took time off of working altogether. to stay home and raise her.
Yeah.
And there were times, even during the pandemic, I took a whole year off of my career to homeschool her.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So not even like virtual.
I couldn't even do that one.
It was a lot. It wasn't even a virtual program. It was homeschool.
Yeah.
So I joined the whole homeschool community in the DMV area, created lesson plans, curriculums, field trips, all of the things.
Yeah.
And, I found a great support system in some of the other moms who were doing that in the area. Yeah. But also, going back to that full circle, one of the first jobs I had out of college was teaching. And I didn't want to be a teacher. But I graduated at the height of the recession. The recession.
Gosh.
So I'm like, well, I need
you got
to
do
I gotta do something.
Exactly.
So, but the skill set came back. So I knew how to make the lesson plan. I knew what she needed. I knew what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, it came back and it helped in this way.
Yes.
But I've taken time off to do that. And, sometimes I'm grateful for those times because I can't get those times back. She's getting bigger every day, more independent every day. So I'm grateful for those times. But those times are hard because sometimes it's like, I want to get out. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm ready to do this.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't. I kept saying it just wasn't my season to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's hard not having that support, and also, relying on daycare and things like that.
The cost of daycare.
Yeah, the cost of daycare as well.
It's like a whole tuition, college semester.
Yeah. So we've gone through all the different options. So we've done the daycare, we've done me staying at home, we've done it all. And it is hard. And also for me, in fact, it impacted family planning. I'm like, okay, I'm one and done.
Yeah, you're like, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Because it's just a lot to try to do and to manage myself. In DC area, I would say there are some cities that are much more family oriented or family friendly, but
yeah, that part.
It's not as much.
Yeah.
So, but my family and my my best girlfriends, they have helped me. Like, my mom and dad, they would come as much as they could come to help, and they still do, and even just to give us a break to go on vacation.
Yes,
in the
need
summer.
that downtime.
Yes, so I definitely am grateful for that. But they have been very instrumental in trying to come as much as they can to support me. But from day to day, it's tough.
I hear you. And as you're carving out this corner, right? You have your content studio, you're raising your family. What does it look like success? Is there an end game for you right now?
Yeah, I think
in this season anyway.
Yeah, for me, I feel like success looks like, at first I thought it was just monetary. Like I want to make X amount of dollars. Yeah. I want to be able to buy this. I want to be able to get my dream car. I want to be able to get, and as I started to get some of those things, I still felt like, okay, I'm burnt out, or I'm not feeling how I want to feel. Yeah. So for me, success is time. So being able to buy my time back. Yeah. So if I need to do something in the middle of the day to go see her get an award at school, I can do that without having to ask somebody for the permission to do that.
Right.
If I want to go on a field trip with her, I can do that. Yeah. So for me, it's making sure I'm buying back my time to spend it in the way that I need to. Or if my parents need me, I can go to Michigan and spend a week there. Yeah. I can go, visit, my family and friends. I don't have to because I'm like, ooh, like that's another thing, being so far away. It's like you're missing out on weddings, birthdays, memorable family moments. Yeah. So it's like, when you're at work, you only get 2 weeks. Right. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't fit into the 2 weeks. Right. So having the time to be able to do that is success to me. No, because that's the one thing we can't get back. We can always make more money, but we cannot get more time.
If you only knew. Oh my gosh. I literally just talked about this. I don't know the order that these episodes are going to go out just yet, but I literally was just talking about two things: money in an episode, as well as time and what that looks like, and just being cognizant of what you're good at versus your gifts, and what you really enjoy doing versus what you don't. And it sounds like you're curating in this season all of that. You're curating your gifts. You're curating the fact that you are building a community away from home, but then at the same time, you're very present in knowing that to have your family, both long distance and then of course your family here, is important, and being able to have that time to do that. So, yeah, so timely.
Yeah, it's so important to me because, you know, I still have to find a way to be able to connect to my family and stay here and be connected to my work and my everyday life.
Yeah.
So
I think sometimes we get caught up in the day-to-day, and we get caught up in the micros of what the day brings, that we sometimes miss taking that bird's eye. You know how we're talking about the puzzle and like all the pieces. What pieces do you feel like you're working on or are to come? I know I'm not asking you to project the future, but you know what I mean? Like we all know we have some. Go ahead.
Right. I think for me, the next level, the next pieces are merging my communications consulting with this. So right now I'm building a team to offer, and I also am realizing I can't do everything.
Yes,
I am one person.
That is very true.
So building packages and building a team where we can offer, you know, in-house services for people who want to start podcasts that may not know how to do the editing, that may not know how to do the video, the lighting. So offering all of those services in-house rather than just the space.
Yes.
Offering photography packages with branding to help talk about brand strategy along with the photos. And what do you do once you get those brand photos? Where do they go? What do you do? How do you use them?
Listen, they be stored on folks' shared hard drives. I mean,
in the drive.
they be like, yo, I took that picture when?
Right.
Yeah. So
how do we pull them off the drive and put them to use?
That's where you come in, Brittany.
How do you take those pictures and make them a slideshow on TikTok so that you can use them?
Yes.
You know, how do we go beyond? And that's where the name comes from. So refining. So how to refine your strategy around communication.
A few things. I love how you talked about just being the puzzle pieces. In my head, I literally see puzzle pieces on the floor right now, and how things that you did years ago are now coming back to use, where it's kind of like how, you know, in grade school, you're like, well, I got to take this subject. Ain't nobody going to do that. But then it's like, oh, here we are. This is why we do it. You know? And so I think that one thing I would say as a takeaway, or actually I'll ask you as a takeaway, what is something, or what is a piece of advice or a takeaway that you would say to someone who has all those puzzle pieces but doesn't quite know how things fit?
I would say community. So try to find like-minded people, or at least people that are aligned with what you want to do. Even if you're not there yet, you can at least have a vision of it. Something to help your vision grow. I am big also on vision boarding and writing vision.
Yes,
and
I'm right there.
Yes, write the vision, make it plain.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm big on that. And I'm also big on affirmation boards. Like, okay, I plan to grow in this way. And also putting it on my desk at home and keeping myself accountable to that. I would also say there's a lot of inspo online. And it can be overwhelming. And some inspo isn't always the best.
Yes, agreed.
But try to find very credible sources that can help you grow. I wanted to do this, and I took a course on this from someone who offered it, who had a content studio. And it helped me springboard to do it. But also, I realized, okay, I want to merge this with my communications firm. So I have the ability to use their knowledge to get started, but also realize that my business may grow in a different way.
Yes.
And be okay with that.
Yes, because you're not a carbon copy.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Everybody be trying to copy focus. Like just do you.
Yeah, do you.
Goodness. Go ahead.
Yes. And it's like, just because you see somebody doing something this way doesn't mean you have to do it the exact same way. And you probably shouldn't.
Exactly.
You probably shouldn't.
Because then that's just copycat. Ain't nobody copycat. No, I like how you've paved that path for yourself. You've given the opportunity to define what it is you want in this season, and you're just at this point you're executing and starting to bring together the rest of them puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Well, Brittany, I genuinely appreciate this conversation. More than anything, I think it's a testament to your willingness to listen, your willingness to wait, even though we're both type A's and like to be working on the control here. But your submissiveness to what this season is right now, I think is just very beautiful. So I appreciate you coming on, sharing your journey. this will not be the last time.
Absolutely
for sure.
not. We're definitely
yes, we will. We will. Or if you're not already, I definitely advise you to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube Music, all of them. Pick one. Go ahead. That just helps us to know that you are listening and like the content that's going out. And we will have all of Brittany's social handles for your availability, because to book this content studio, it's more than just the space that you see us in right now. It's beautiful. So I'll catch you on the next episode of She Built Success. Deuces.